In this exercise, I'm going to demonstrate the appearance of every one of those 18 presets that you find inside of the Repose dialog box. I've gone ahead and saved this version of the image, by the way, as videofinaltype.psd. It's inside the O2 Repose folder, and so is this file right there, which is called Repose Shape Presets.psd. What I've done, I'll go ahead and press the F key a couple times to switch to the full screen mode. I've created half-size versions of that 3D type file subject to each one of the presets, and I've also included the presets icon, and they're listed in the exact same order. They're 3 wide inside the panel and 6 long, just like this file. The first option just ends up giving you no bevel whatsoever. You have flat letters. You have a standard extrusion. I should tell you that the depth is much deeper than this. I went ahead and reduced the depth of each one of these presets just because otherwise we'd interrupt the ground plane and it'd look ridiculous. The next one applies a flat beveled edge, like so. I've also reduced the size of the bevel so it fits inside the letters. Notice this guy right there. He's the hilarious one. I love this preset because it's drawn wrong. Notice it shows the bevel going out and then the face coming back in, and that's actually the opposite of how the effect works. It creates a divot bevel right there, so the contour goes inward, not outward. Next, we have this kind of flat beveled edge with a round cliff associated with it, and it produces this effect here. This is an inflation effect, so a standard inflation effect. The front letters are inflated. In the next preset, both the front and back surfaces are inflated, and we've got a little bit of strength going on too. So we have some kind of pillow letters, as you can see, and I'll go ahead and scoot this over a little bit so that you can see everything that there is to offer inside of this little image. Notice I changed the angle of our view, so I changed the camera settings so that we can see a bit of the back of these letters. There is no extrusion associated with this effect, so you just end up with these kind of pillowy objects. Let's check the next group here. This one inflates downward, so the inflation actually goes inward instead of outward, which is an option with Repose. This next preset goes ahead and creates a back face that is bigger than the front face, and the third preset in the third row goes ahead and creates a slanted extrusion. Moving to the fourth row here, we start getting into some pretty ridiculous effects, in my opinion, especially when applying to text. This one creates a big twirl, as you can see, and the reason we have the shadows midway in is because we're cutting through the ground plane at this point, which is possible. It's something you have to watch out for. I didn't correct for it, however, because I wanted you to see what happens. This guy corkscrews like crazy, and that might end up looking okay if I had applied it to just one of the letters. Because I applied it to both letters at a time, the letters are wider than they are tall, and we end up getting a very peculiar effect indeed. And if that wasn't weird enough for you, why, we've got an even weirder one right there. So a ton of corkscrewing going on. In this case, I believe it's a twist value of 560 degrees. It's the same value for both of these presets here. However, we're twisting around the middle here in the middle image, and we're twisting around the right-hand side on the right-hand image. Next, we have our revolution options, and in this case, I went ahead and split apart my letters, and I hid the D and just left the 3 visible, because otherwise, you wouldn't believe what weird-looking effects we end up getting. And in this case, we're doing a 90-degree revolution with a lot of depth, so it's going way back there. In the next one, we have a 180-degree revolution, but there's not nearly so much depth associated with it, so we end up getting 2 letters that are reflected neighbors to each other, and I went ahead and assigned that paper texture to the rear surface. In this next case, we're revolving, again, 180 degrees, but around a different reference point, and this final revolution option, I believe it's 185 degrees if you care, so another 5 degrees worth, but it's really a function of having a different reference point. That's why the 3 goes off the canvas. This one's pretty interesting, I think. We have just a little bit of a gap left over, as indicated by this 3D Pac-Man icon here. And we end up getting a 3 that wraps all the way around itself and creates a kind of mushroom effect. Now, this isn't very useful for a 3, but these kinds of revolutions can be extremely useful indeed. Imagine if we started with kind of a shape that indicates half an apple, and then you revolve it all the way around, and you've got yourself a 3D apple, which is pretty awesome. And then finally, I went ahead and reinstated the D and applied this 270-degree revolution, which revolves the objects around their center, which is why the D bends in 2. For what it's worth, those are the graphical depiction of the 18 presets that are available to you in the Repose dialog box. In the next chapter, we'll take a look at Repose as applied to shape layers and layer masks.